This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
Good as always. Oh, how are you doing?
Excellent. It's freaking Friday, man. I mean, you know, and the Panthers. I'm looking forward to that tonight. That's going to be a lot of fun, dude. The Panthers are they're looking good, man.
Extremely impressive. Extremely impressive win the other night on the road. I mean, they pretty much dominated. So
I'm shocked they're not sending your ass to Panther games now.
Nope. We got hockey people, brother. We got a lot of hockey people, and in fact, we probably have the best hockey coverage of any publication. So,
so you're sending your national folks to cover it. That's what they're doing.
Yes, correct.
I got it. So, what happens if they win the cup? Does the Athletic all of a sudden say, "Hey, yeah, you guys happen to have the best hockey team"?
Yeah,
maybe they're going to be a good hockey team for the next couple of years. I think we actually need coverage now down there, you know, because you're not going to really cover all hockey teams, but you might cover the one that actually is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I don't think we had a beat reporter on the Denver Nuggets, and they just won the NBA championship last year, right? So we kind of had different people kind of move in. I mean, we've got a pretty large staff. I think we have the largest staff in the country in terms of, you know, one single website devoted to sports writing. So, but you know, hopefully that'd be good. I mean, if they brought in a Panthers writer, somebody to be down here full time covering the team. But the way that we do things, man, the New York Times / Athletic now, because I got to say the New York Times, since they own us. It's just we cover what matters, right? And write the big stories and write the in-depth pieces, and whether it's day to day or, you know, once a week, twice a week, three times, whatever it is, we handle it the right way. And I think our publication is bar none the best in sports. I mean, we've got people all over the country. We got people internationally covering soccer overseas. So if you for your bang for your buck, as far as writing and interesting stories, this is the best one out there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I was just because, you know, you figure, okay, what happens if the Panthers, because it looks like they're on the brink of.
Yeah, that I agree. I think it's them in Edmonton at this point.
Unlike the Heat,
yes,
that they try to manufacture fucking stars. Oh no, we got a star in Bam, we got a star in Tyler. No, you don't, bro. No, you don't. They're really good player. Well, not Tyler. Bam's a really damn good player. God, he is
right,
excellent, but he's not franchise material. He's not. Sorry, I'm not. So, you know, the manufacturing. You don't need a manufacturer over there, bro. There's Kachuk.
No, they got the real deal.
There's Reinhardt. You know, Tarasenko was a star, and he's still damn good. Bennett's a badass. You know, come on, dude. Verhaeghe. I remember when he won the Sixth Man of the Year. It was Carter Verhaeghe's first year that he was kicking ass and he was clutch and all that. And I had a poll question out of, who do you think is more of the you know, the better player, Verhaeghe or Tyler Hero? And of course, because most people don't follow hockey,
right?
They picked Hero just because of the hype. You know what I mean? And I was making the argument. In fact, Ira even leaned to Hero, and I was like, "Come on, Ira, you know hockey. Did you watch Verhaeghe? That's a clutch. That was the year that he was more clutch than Barkov and Huberdeau in the playoffs. Remember that, right? Mm-hmm. That's where he made his name. And I said, that dude's a badass right there. And that's what that team is loaded with, bro. That's why I ask, because if the Panthers do win it, bro, all of a sudden, and think about this. I might be setting you up for something, which I'm really sorry about this. But if you're if you're the Athletic, you could have a guy that kind of alternates between Florida and Tampa.
Right. Absolutely.
You have two of the 5-6 best hockey clubs in the entire sport in the state of Florida, separated by 245 miles.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it'd be great if they were to go out and invest in somebody and do that. Look,
Rojas, let's go, Rojas.
I would love to see that happen.
Is it still Rojas?
Huh? Well, we kind of changed our vertical, our setup. We kind of do by sport now. So Rojas used to be the guy in charge of Miami and had me and a bunch of other writers. Now he's on the opinions desk. So anybody who writes columns, that's who he's in charge of.
Okay. All right. He was always really good to me, by the way.
Oh, great
Really,
dude. Great dude.
no, but he was really good to me because I'm not you guys.
Right.
You know, I'm not a writer, bro. I'm
Right.
not a writer. I tried for a
You're
little
great
bit.
in your own way. Oh, we love you in your own way, bro. You do a great job.
I am my own man. I'm completely different than everybody else. But it's funny because people like to think that they can do somebody else's job and like it's easy or
It's not.
something. And brother, it's not. It's not. And Rojas was fantastic with me.
Mhm.
He encouraged me and all that kind of stuff. And I wrote a few articles for him and all that. And he actually liked it, but but I could tell myself, I'm like, bro, I'm not Manny Navarro. I'm not going to be Ira Winderman. That's just not who I am, bro.
We all have our callings, brother.
Exactly. Exactly. We all have our callings. So not that his stats were that impressive or anything earth
Mhm.
shattering, but tell me about Tyler Barron.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, look, he's another experienced edge rusher, and I think when you look at Miami's entire offseason and going out and landing guys in the transfer portal and just what the whole effort was to bring in experience, right? Mario wanted to really have an experienced roster, and when you looked at the defensive line and the amount of guys that left um, after last season, you needed to replace experience, right? Because you have talent. You went out and you signed 7 really good high school recruits. The problem is how many of those guys are really ready to be thrown into the fire right away. On the offensive and defensive line, it's really hard to do that. You have to have the body. You have to come in weighing over 300 pounds already, basically. And if you're not, then you need to put on the weight, and that takes some time, right? You want to put good weight on these guys and get their bodies physically ready to handle those battles. So they went out and they signed 5 defensive linemen, and that's what Tyler Barron is. He's the 5th guy that they brought in. You look at the starting experience on Miami's defensive line right now, 156 combined career starts. When you look at the rest of the ACC, there's only one other program that has more returning starting experience, and that's Louisville. Louisville's the most experienced team in terms of starts. Louisville went out and signed 30 transfers. Miami went out and signed 14. So, you have Ruben Bain back, who's obviously the ACC badass ACC defensive player there. You got Akeem Mesidor that you hope is finally healthy. Those are the only guys who were returning starters, that have started a bunch of games in college for
Bro,
Miami.
this
So,
guy didn't even have more than 5 sacks, bro. Like
right.
he wasn't anything. He wasn't, all SEC or he wasn't anything like. I
Well, yeah,
just didn't.
he's
I
a
didn't
guy
see
that all
a resume. I didn't see a resume that I could say, oh, they stole somebody.
well,
It kind of reminds me of what the Dolphins did when they lost Wilkins. They signed like a bunch of dudes that they're
right.
hoping that a couple blue collar guys. And this is kind of what it seems like to me. Just they added like a blue collar guy because they needed some depth and rotation.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
look, 10 and a half tackles for loss last season, 6 sacks, 41 quarterback pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. Those are solid numbers. I mean, Ruben Bain had 45 QB pressures. I think 7.5 sacks for Ruben. So is he another Ruben Bain? Probably not. I think Ruben Bain has a much higher ceiling, but this guy is, I think, for what was available on the market and what he gives you, which is now you've got 7 guys on this defensive line who have double-digit career starts. That's impressive. Oh, very few teams in the country have that. You got 7 dudes who have played a ton. You have a wave. You have a wave of guys you can rotate in and out. And as you remember back in the day when Miami was winning national championships, and you watch Georgia and Alabama and all the best teams in the country, they have waves of guys they can throw at you. And so and it buys time now for all of those younger players on this roster to develop. You don't have to throw any of those guys into the fire right away. And if you do, it's because somebody's either injured or because they're ready to do it. They've stepped up their game and they've grown as players. So that's why you go out and you get a Cohen.
All right. Anybody else on the radar?
I think there's still a chance if somebody good on the defensive backfield pops in there, whether it's a grad transfer or somebody who has a lot of experience that they like becomes available. I think there's always a possibility they could add more in the secondary. I think that's the one area still that you look at and you say there's not enough experience, but they've addressed all of their needs for the most part. Oh, I mean, they really did. Like I told you, second most experienced team in the ACC behind Louisville in terms of career starts. So to me, they're a prohibitive favorite. Like, you have to look at Miami and say they're one of the best teams in the ACC. They should win it this year. There's no excuses. You've got young talent. You've got older transfers. You've got a great quarterback in Cam Ward, a guy who people expect a lot of things from. So you don't look at this team and say, man, they've got holes. I think for the most part, if there are holes, they're very small.
Does Cristobal get a lot of heat if he loses to Florida to open up the season? Because if you open up against Florida State, even by losing their quarterback, they're still such a good program that you could understand them losing to Florida State. Mm-hmm. But Florida's not a good program, and you need to get better, and you've done talent-wise. It's a beatable team, in other words. It's not that you're supposed to win, but it's a beatable team. So if you don't win that game, what kind of start, what kind of heat does Cristobal? I'm not talking about getting fired or any of that kind of shit. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about first game out to shoot. Yeah. You fail against Florida. It's not a good tone setter.
Well, absolutely, because I think it sets you up to basically for everybody to just be like, this team's not for real, right? Like, there's that instant disappointment, and I think that permeates in the locker room, right? Like, everybody's expecting you to win that game going into Gainesville, knowing the Gators are coming off a 5-win season and their coach is on the hot seat. To go in there and lose that game right off the bat, I think affects your locker room some, and we've seen how that happens, right? We saw Miami a couple years ago, first game of the season, you get Alabama and you get your ass handed to you by an SEC team, and what happened? The team fell apart after that. So it's a big game in that regard, but Mario supposedly has changed the culture in the locker room, right? That's what he says. These are different players, different mentality. So if you lose that game somehow, you don't play well. It's the first game of the season. You have some mistakes. You would hope that they're strong enough to bounce back, but I think you're right. I think it's a bad precedent to start with a loss at Florida, whether it's a close game or a blowout. To go out there and lose number one to a team that most people expect you to beat would be not the ideal way for Mario to start.
All right, don't forget Caneswear, baby. Use our code BIG010. You will get 10% off if you go live or if you do it online. And by the way, if you order online because you don't live close, you will get free shipping if you order over $99. So visit it, caneswear.com, or visit them in person. Say hi to Brett or Jeff or John or any other great people there at Caneswear. What do you got going on The Athletic, my friend?
Well, a lot of recruiting stuff the next week. We'll have a look at the state, who everybody is sort of targeting, who are the top available players left. Basically the visit period begins next weekend. We'll have Miami will be loaded up with visitors, Florida State, everybody. So I'll have a look ahead to that. Who are the main targets, what sort of the recruiting plan this year for each of the state schools. And then the same thing for the SEC and the ACC. Grace Rayner's handling the ACC. I'm handling the SEC. So there'll be a lot of stuff to, you want to catch up and just figure out, hey, well, how's my team doing? What's my program doing? We'll have a look at that for you next week.
All right, good stuff. And, of course, follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother. Talk soon.
Thank you, sir. And don't forget, caneswear.com. Use our code BIG010. You will get 10% off.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.